Welcome to Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. I'm a board-certified music therapist, author, and expert on how to use music to relieve stress fast. This episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold is sponsored by Dr. Nisi, trainer and certifier of master and executive coaches, because she believes every person, every relationship, every business, and your finances should be extraordinary. Find out more about Dr. Nisi Moore and the Life Coaching Institute at www.drnisi.com. That's DRNEECIE.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. It's so great to be with you, and I'm so glad you're here. This episode is an excerpt from my Reduce Your Stress Summit that I hosted in August. I've been practicing cold showers and breath work for a couple of years now, which are two of the pillars of the teachings of a gentleman named Wim Hof. Now, Wim's quite a character, but his techniques are validated and results are amazing. And I interviewed one of his chief trainers, Dr. Josephine Worseck, about the benefits of cold exposure for stress reduction. You're going to be fascinated because the science is not intuitive. So sit back, but listen closely as Dr. Worseck enlightens us both. And I'll see you on the other side. Josephine Worseck, PhD, is a molecular biologist and works as a naturopath, Wim Hof trainer, yoga and meditation teacher. In 2016, she supervised a scientific study of the Wim Hof technique or method, and later became the first German-speaking certified Wim Hof trainer. She now supports people, associations, and companies in discovering the positive effects of cold applications and breathing techniques for themselves. With her book, The Healing Power of Cold, published in 2020 in German, she inspires even inexperienced readers to try the cold for themselves. Josephine, welcome to the Reduce Your Stress Summit for Healthcare Professionals. And please, the audience wants to know, what was the last concert that you went to before the pandemic?
Thanks so much, Tim, for having me. I love to be here. And the last concert, that's ages ago. I think it was of Monsters and Men in Cape Town, in the Botanical Gardens. It was open air and it was magical, and I loved it. But it's too long ago. It's too long ago. I would love to go to Cape Town again, but not possible at this moment. Yeah.
Geez, I know. I was just thinking concert and travel currently, not so much. What a beautiful setting that sounds like, though, to see a band. That's fantastic. So I want to share with everybody briefly how we met. I was a participant on a Wim Hof virtual retreat. So very much like this on Zoom, except about 3,000 of us around the world were breathing and doing ice baths and doing yoga. And then I don't remember if it was day one or day two, but this amazing scientist gets on there and starts to talk about the real research behind how good cold is for you. And your presentation just blew me away. And I'm so happy for LinkedIn, because to the listeners of this summit, I immediately went over to LinkedIn and was typing your name, and there you were. And I was like, and I was so happy because your presence and your gentleness and your expertise combined was so delightful to be with. And I knew I wanted to share you with this community. So thank you so much for saying yes, for being here. I'm just so happy to share you with the rest of the group.
Oh, thank you, Tim. And I look forward to your questions, and I look forward to share a little bit more on how cold exposure can actually reduce your stress and how you can use that.
Yeah. So we have to start out with busting a myth, because here in the States, when you're growing up, you hear all the time, bundle up, you're going to catch a cold. meaning if you go outside and you expose yourself to cold temperature causes a cold, which is a word that's interesting in English that we use for a virus or an infection, right? And yet the research says opposite.
Yes, like pretty much so. So actually there's no doctor out there ever who could in a way clarify in a study that cold exposure is really causing you to get a disease, because bacteria and viruses are doing that. It's not cold exposure. What, however, can happen to just, kind of show the two sides of the coin is like the cold is definitely influencing your immune system. And if you use it clever with short, like little stress moments of cold exposure, like a 2-minute ice bath, like a cold shower, like a run around the block in your t-shirt, although it's winter, then that is very beneficial to strengthen your immune system, and you will increase your white blood cells, which are fighting off bacteria and viruses. So that's great. However, if you overdo it, maybe you're pushed too much by what you have heard about Wim Hof. He's staying like 2 hours in the ice bath, and you're like, I'm going to do that too. Then it's like running a marathon. Like it's really also, it's a lot of work for your body to be in the cold for a very long time. So if you go, for example, for 2 hours in an ice bath, which I cannot recommend to any of you, so please don't do it. Start with 2 minutes and with cold showers. Then your immune system would slow down. It works because as you can imagine, all the energy your body has, it's at that moment used to keep yourself warm. So it says like, oh, I don't need to keep up the immune work. Like I need to make this body, this human survive. So all the energy goes into keeping yourself as a nice and cozy 37 degrees Celsius. So you need to see the two sides of the coin. But what I can tell you is like opening the window in the winter time to get in some fresh air, or to go for a walk with your children or with your dog outside will not make you have a cold.
Got it. Thank you for that explanation. That's really good, because I didn't consider that your body's busy generating heat and it needs to recruit that energy from somewhere. So it might be pulling it from the immune system working on whatever it's doing. That makes sense to me. So that's a really great explanation of that.
Yeah. Like, and if people like to Google it, like there's a name for it. It's called the open window effect. You also have it after long sports. Like if you run a marathon, there's an open window effect, and kind of like the germs and bacteria can fly in. So although we all know sports is also a great way to strengthen your body, there is an open window effect. And yeah, people can look it up.
That makes sense. So any kind of like when you're stressing your body purposefully, whether it's resistance training, cardio training, cold, more is not better at some point, right? So, okay, that's really great. Tell us a little about your story, because you started out as a very traditional researcher and then kind of had this kind of transformation in what you wanted to do in your career after you kind of discovered all of this new world. So will you share a little bit about your story? Because I think it's fascinating.
Yes, of course. I'm happy to do that. So I did my PhD in 2011 at the Max Planck Institute in Berlin. And so by that time, I was in a way spending like around 10 years of my life studying like biology and working in the field. And I've realized that it was not what I really wanted. In a way, like I started to study biology, having very high ideals about what I want to achieve with studying that and bringing some good into the world and making people feel better and be healthier. But I realized that actually a lot about the work that I'm doing is more about medications and publishing things. And it's not always oriented on the well-being of people, but also about bringing papers out and having a return of investment of your medication that you want to market. And I found that it made me unhappy. So I was in an unhappy place of my life. Also because the work in the lab was pretty lonesome. Like I was just working with my cell cultures and with my bacteria and with my yeasts. And I was missing out on having contact with real people and also seeing the effect of what I'm doing, like the positive effects. And so at that moment in time, I decided to try something different, and I took a long break, and I got in contact with meditation in Thailand. I spent a lot of time being like away from everything and finding a little bit more truth of what I need and want and what I want to live for in my life. That was 2013. And yeah, then I came back and started to become a yoga teacher, started to become a naturopath, came in contact with the Wim Hof method, supported a study on the Wim Hof method because like I was working at a biotech company at that moment. So that's a link. And then I realized like, actually that's it. Like the Wim Hof method and teaching yoga, teaching meditation. I've worked with people. I have a direct feedback loop. I see what the things are doing, like, like just one session of yoga and the people like are a little bit more relieved. You can see it in their faces. They're less stressed. And I love that. So I did quit my job in 2017. And since then I'm self-employed and giving workshops and seminars and travels and wrote a book. Yeah, things like that. So I'm super happy about how everything turned out.
Love that. That's fantastic. Can you tell our group a little bit about some of the benefits of cold exposure, particularly as it relates to stress, physical health, mental health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I always say like I have like 5 great reasons for cold exposure. And like every time I'm invited somewhere, it's like slightly different 5 reasons, but because there are so many, so I pick 5 of the best ones that are matching to the meeting. So I think number 1 stays always like cold exposure is a great way to train your cardiovascular system and your cardiovascular health. Because with every cold exposure, your blood vessels contract. It's called vasoconstriction. And then when you warm up, they vasodilate. And that is a training for your whole blood circulatory system. So that's great. Also, when we see and know that actually cardiovascular disease are in our westernized world reason for death number 1 in a way. So cardiovascular health, reason number 1. Coming to like stress and stress reduction. I don't know how many of you have ever taken like a cold shower or a cold bath, but like usually when you do it for the first time, you can observe something that your body, like your breath is changing. Probably there will be like a gasping response when your body is even doing something like, and then there will be coming a moment where your body's like, I can deal with that. And kind of what you're doing there is you're kind of going through a sympathetic response. So first you're in sympathetic mode, like a stress response, like it's like you're, oh my God, what's happening? It's like exciting. And then your body goes from there over breathing, and you can help your body with breathing and making slow exhales, like long, slow exhales, maybe even through your nose. You can help your body to make the switch into the parasympathetic mode. And then in a way, by practicing that, you can also in daily life deal easier with stress. So you're kind of teaching your body on how to react with a stressful situation by putting yourself like willingly into a cold bath or a cold shower. So that is, I think, reason number 2, great also for this Reduce Your Stress Summit, because it kind of trains you how to deal with stress and stressors in your life. Because you can never change the things outside. You can only change how you deal with it, like in your inside. So deal with stress. Also, if you, that's also now for the stress summit, like a specific one, reason number 3, if you expose your face to the cold, like That can be by even like a cold shower, putting it into your face, or splashing some cold water into your face. Or if you're really like a professional, you could put some ice cubes into your sink and add some water and then have an ice bath just for the face. That would activate your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve is there for you to bring your body into a parasympathetic mode. So just by like dipping your face into the cold water, or also in winter, holding your face outside, of course, by going for a walk, you can trigger like the vagus nerve, which is helping you to reduce stress. I see a question there. How long does your face need to be in the ice bath? So I usually say, as long as you can hold your breath without going too far, you just breathe in, hold your nose maybe if you like that, go into the water, and then hold your breath there for 30 seconds so that you really still have enough air, and then come up, take another breath in. Then you can try to repeat it, but you should be careful of not getting like a strain in your head. Like some people react, especially in the first, with the first cold exposures of the face, they can get like a headache. So don't go over that. So if you feel like, oh, I'm getting a headache, it's a moment for you to stop for the day and try again the next day. So I hope that is answering the question. Great, cool. So there we were with you activate the vagus nerve. And there have even been studies that it's a new kind of device, like a device that is put into people's body, actually, like a little electric stimulator of the vagus nerve. And it's used for people with chronic depression that is resistant against medication. And all the people that have that device, like implanted, they actually benefit from a constant vagus nerve stimulation to also treat depression. And I find that super cool. So I wanted to mention that here in reason number 3 still. So I think like these 3 are already, like for this summit, probably one of the 3 most important ones. And reason number 4, I already mentioned, like you strengthen your immune system with cold exposure. So the number of white blood cells is going up. And by that, you can better fight off bacteria and viruses. So which is a great thing also in the pandemic we are in. And reason number 5 is you reduce inflammatory values like tumor necrosis factor alpha, like interleukin-6, like histamine is even reduced by cold exposure. And by doing that, actually it's all connected. I mean, you, like with all these reasons are somehow interlinked with each other, because if you reduce inflammation, you can also actually reduce depression and symptoms of depression. That has also been shown.
Wow.
So, but also people with rheumatic disease, for example, and swollen joints, they could reduce inflammatory levels, and by that also reduce pain and have better movement again. So yeah, I think this is for now my 5 reasons for here, but I know many more. And probably some of the audience is like, oh yeah, I still know that reason and that reason. And I think in the end, it's always good to find your own personal reason to do a regular cold exposure routine. And if you have your own reason, your personal reason, then that's all you need to have.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I think I started my first cold shower in 2019. A friend of mine wrote a book about cold showers, and I thought that's crazy. But I'm also the guy who likes to do the crazy thing that if I think it's crazy at first, then I'm like, I wonder what's behind that. And I can say that as I've gone through that journey, I've heard lots of people have lots of reasons for why they do it. And I appreciate that you said that. One quote I heard about a guy who jumps in the Irish Sea every morning. He goes out in the morning and jumps in the sea, and it's, I don't know, that's cold water. I mean, I'm in Southern California. It's cold here, but not like that. And he says, I want to be, I hate the man who jumps in the water in the morning. I'm grumpy, but I love the man who gets out. And there's some sort of transformation, this little mini transformation that happens each time he does it. And for me, I kind of took that to be, I want to be known as the guy who takes a cold shower as much as I want to be the guy who takes a cold shower. And I want to be the guy who says yes when my friends say, we're going to do a lake plunge. I want to be that guy who goes, me too. I'm with you. I'm scared, but I'm going to say yes because you're doing it. And so I really appreciate, like, when you find that authentic reason for you, no one can take that away. That's great.
Yeah. Also, like, I like to add something to that phrase of your friend. Like, that would be reason number 6. Like, really, cold exposure has been shown to release a lot of noradrenaline into your body, which is a very magical hormone, which makes you actually happy. So morning grumpiness is gone after you have had a cold shower, or even better, like an ice bath. You will be a happier person because noradrenaline makes you awake. So you also don't need your morning coffee anymore, makes you awake and happy. And it's also, because everything is interconnected, one of the hormones that is actually greatly reducing inflammation in your body.
Kathleen has a question, says, is it better to go back and forth between hot and cold, or is it better to stay, all cold?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think also here, like, it's personal preference. And I highly recommend people to start with whatever they can at that moment in their life. So if it's for them a lukewarm cold shower, start with that. That's great. If it's for them shower off first your hands and feet, then do that. And maybe over the time course of a week or even more, you will be able to shower everything cold. And also the interchange of hot and cold, it's very beneficial to train your cardiovascular system, because then the same thing is happening over and over again, like you have vasodilation, vasoconstriction, and that is really good. So it's great. And I think whatever practice you start to have, it will like benefit you. And if you you can also just do a cold shower at the end of your warm shower, maybe after having washed your hair. And then I recommend that it's like a 30 seconds, but it could also be more, but you can start with 10, 15, 20, and then go to 30. And maybe one day you find yourself having a minute-long cold shower or even longer.
That's great. Cora says, what about sitting in a cold air-conditioned room without a sweater or a blanket, or will I just be shivering?
Definitely, like, a lot of biohackers are doing that at the moment. And I actually also do recommend it sometimes, like to just save some energy, put down your heating in the winter, and because everything, which would be reason number 7 now, guys, we are making it, like everything below 18 degrees Celsius would activate your brown fat. So if you're sitting in an environment that has 18 degrees Celsius or below, your brown fat is activated, which means that your body is constantly burning calories to keep you warm in the very special mitochondria of your brown fat tissue, which is like here in your neck area and shoulder area. So it's not the white storage fat of the belly or butt or so, but really the brown fat gets activated. So it's very beneficial. But also here, I would say the aim is not to be like shivering all day and to be cold all day. So be nice to yourself. Maybe try it, have maybe one room, like maybe your sleeping room colder, or your office, and see how does it work. Try it out for some hours, but please don't sit there 8 hours being like, oh my God, I need to finish this email. Then it's also not fun anymore. Yeah.
Are there any conditions where cold exposure is contraindicated and you would say, if you have this is not for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Like, especially with ice bath, I recommend that people really get checked first by their doctors. Because like everybody who has like high blood pressure or heart problems should really not go into an ice bath, because it's too dangerous in a way of like once you go into the cold water, your blood pressure will change. It's very normal reaction. Every healthy person has that. Your blood pressure goes up by about like 20 measurement points. It goes up, and if you already have a blood pressure of 160, then you're suddenly at 180, and that's way too high and very dangerous for your body. So you need to check your blood pressure, and you need to make sure that you don't have any heart disease, heart problems. And yeah, in case, like, the easiest thing to say is every healthy person can easily have an ice bath and will be fine. But yeah, please make sure that you don't have high blood pressure or heart problems. And there are also some people, but they know, and they would never go into the ice bath, that have allergies against the cold. But they know, and they usually would be staying away from cold exposure, so they would not do it. Yeah.
Got it. So let's say you start with the cold shower. That's an easy thing. It doesn't take, you're taking a shower anyway. Do you recommend, like, how often would you add an ice bath to your cold diet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. So I say a cold shower can happen really every day. So that will be totally fine for your body. An ice bath, however, I would only do maybe once or twice a week for 2 minutes. And I have a rule of thumb that's very easy to keep in mind. It's like the rule of 2. It means like have an ice bath for a maximum of 2 minutes. Like, don't overdo it. At like 2 degrees, once or twice a week, and always with 2 persons. So, and because 2 persons, it's great to have a buddy there who can maybe help you dress again, or hold your towel, or pour you a tea, or is also there for you in an emergency situation. So never go alone, especially not in your first ice bathing season. Oh, I see a question. Like, if ice bathing can trigger migraine. Actually, yes, it can. Like, if I invite people to a workshop of mine, I usually ask if they have a history of migraines. And for some, they know that cold exposure is triggering a migraine. I think it differs from person to person what is triggering migraines. For some, it's a red wine or the walnuts. For others, it's sleep and stress. For the next one, it's a cold exposure. So I would start slowly here. That's what we recommend. So if you know that you suffer from migraines, be nice to yourself, have first cold showers, and then maybe now starting with the winter, you can look for a lake, and you can go now in August and September, and then September it will get colder week by week, and October also colder week by week. And then you can train your body and your mind slowly with it. And that should be fine. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I really love, oh, look at that. What is the name brand of the collapsible ice bath mini pool you use that's on your Instagram? Love it.
Oh yeah, that's very cute. I can send a link. Like, actually, I got my pool from Malaysia, like in 2017. It was a big thing to get it here with paying taxes. But now even it's like very easy. You can order it on Amazon. I've seen it. I happily share the link later in the chat, so that you have it. Yeah, it's a cool thing. Mine holds since 2017, so it's a practical thing.
Nice. Nice. You can also message Josephine on Instagram also, and that way that'll tag her as well, and she'll get back to you. But yeah, I would love to know that. That's very cool. This has been really great. I have had a really great experience with cold exposure. It's been really good for me. I very rarely get sick. My immune system is a machine. Like, I just feel so confident about my immune system. And I think that's a really good thing in today's world, to feel confident in your immune system, because for obvious reasons. Josephine, it has just been delightful to spend time with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us on the Reduce Your Stress Summit.
Thank you, Tim, so much for having me. And yeah, I'm happy to connect with all of you. Like, happily, if you write me on Instagram, of course, I share my handle in the chat as well. It's basically just my name. So it's very easy Googleable. Like you can put it into Google, you will find me there. I think there's no other person with that name. So I haven't met anybody. So you can find me. And I also share the link of the pool. And I hope that I could inspire all of you to have a cold shower, maybe even today or tomorrow morning. Please have it. Yeah.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. I've got a couple of resources for you, which you can find in the show notes or you can listen to right here. So check it out. If you enjoy the sound of my voice and you enjoy the sound of my guitar, imagine them put together. Go to sonicrecovery.com and take your very own relaxation vacation, where I take you out of the stress of the present moment and back in time to a time when you felt happy, healthy, safe, and sober, and then walk you through that memory so you can bring back those feelings into the challenges you're facing today. So go check that out. It's at sonicrecovery.com. If you're a healthcare worker in recovery, check out the Music in Recovery Self-Care Guide for healthcare professionals that I created just for you. That's at hcp.sonicrecovery.com. And if you're a healthcare worker and you'd like more information about how to help your patients use music, you can check out the Music Medicine Guide that I created just for you at musicmedicineguide.com. Lastly, if you enjoyed the pod and you haven't done it yet, would you just take a minute to rate and review it? It really only takes about 60 seconds, believe it or not, and it would go a long way to help us make more people know just how good this pod is, particularly for healthcare workers and their stress. Thanks again. See you next time.